Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Cowboys Takeover. I'm your host, Mr. Jason Kent. Man, does it feel good to be back, right? I missed the last 2 weeks. Oof, wasn't fun. You get sick on Christmas Day and you just get fevers and go downhill. It was not fun. But I am so glad to be back today after a pretty big game and a pretty big weekend for our Dallas Cowboys, right? So let's dive into it. Today we are sans Mr. Aaron James. He's finishing up visiting with the family. So I want to give a big shout out to him, for holding it down and really running the show the last few episodes, just with me being sick and being under the weather, not being able to make it. Big shout out. Did a great job as usual. He always comes prepared and drops some knowledge and he brings stats to back everything up. So I really, again, thank you, Mr. Aaron James. Upset you couldn't be here. Glad you're able to hold it down for us, though. But, man, let's dive into this weekend, right? We come out, we get to play the Detroit Lions, a new Detroit Lions team, not one we've seen in the past, but this is one that won their division. In the fight, big weekend for them as well because they are fighting for that potential they had to get either the 1 or the 2 seed in the conference. And that 1 seed was still technically in play for them if they win this weekend. So it was, they had a lot coming in and Dallas, it was, the day before, Saturday night. So they didn't know the Eagles were going to lose and have potential to win the division, something I am very shocked at. If you've listened to us the last few weeks, I was very skeptical. I didn't really think those wins mattered against Miami and Buffalo, or the losses mattered because we couldn't win this division. And the Eagles did something miraculous and lost to Arizona. Then that made that win Saturday night so big because it puts Dallas in play for that number 2 seed now and that division, winning that division. So that really, when you look at this team this season, not good on the road at all. Just do not play well on the road. But on the other hand, as bad as they are, as bad as they've been on the road this season, they've been equally as great at home. Their only losses this year, they have 5 losses and all of them are on the road. With Arizona, San Fran, Philly, and then Buffalo, Miami. So now, you have a chance to take the division. When you get to Washington, you get a chance to take the division and seal up that number 2 seed, which gives you, for the wild card in the divisional round, a home game. So that's why this weekend was so big. And diving into it, I think there were a couple key plays because this game, Dallas did come away with a victory, 20-19, in a game. I think as Cowboys fans, we were really sweating. Because when you're watching it, you really felt like you should have been blowing this team out. And it really started, from the first drive for Dallas, that it was upsetting, right? Because Detroit gets the ball first. They go 11 plays and kick a field goal. And you're Dallas, you're like, okay, we need something. We need to feel good here. We just lost, coming off that loss to Miami, last second, heartbreaker. With the week before that, just getting destroyed by Buffalo, you wanted to see Dak put something together. So that first drive we come out and he's looking okay. We hit a little dump off to Ferguson, and then you get a big play to CD, which this night was that's what this night was about. The big plays to CD. But you're really excited because you get the ball and really in Detroit territory, and you're really feeling good, and then you have that 2nd down and 4. And you have this play where Cook's going down the seam. And I feel like this has been a gripe of Aaron and I's, a lot of this season. Dak's deep ball. He just doesn't make them catchable. And that was a walk-in touchdown. If he puts it anywhere near Cooks, it's a walk-in touchdown. Now you're up 7-3. You're feeling good about yourself. But kind of goes the other way right from there. So he overthrows him by looked like about 5 to 10 yards. It was a very bad pass. Something I know Dak wishes he had back. Because the next play he goes out, typical, You see it in sports. Something you just miss getting that big play, and you turn around and throw an interception on a really bad pass. Really actually bad pass to CD. It should have never been thrown. The guy had him. CD was no beat. Didn't have him beat. Guy was in front of him. Just a terrible play. But the defense turns around and does stop them. And then it's starting to look bad again, right? After you had the big play, the first drive, the second drive is starting out even worse because now you're backed up inside your own 10. They're on their 8-yard line because, they try to run Pollard, typical another Pollard game. We can't get anything going. And I think that's, it's good that CD's going because our run game right now is abysmal, but then magic happens, right? You're sitting there, you're watching. They had a clear sack, just like I just said right there on the last drive. Dallas had something great. We just missed that great big 30-yard touchdown. Next play, Dak interception on the same play. I don't know who it was for Detroit, but he broke through that line. And that's, I don't consider myself an athlete. Yes, I played 2 years of high school football because I couldn't do 4 years. I'm just small. But that was day one tackling. You wrap him up. And this dude, I don't know what he was thinking. He tried to throw a shoulder into Dak. He got out of there because it would have been a safety. You're looking at 2 points the other way. Scramble, drill, Dak just gets out of the pocket, goes to the right, and CD 92-yard touchdown. And it felt like that. You're like, okay, now you're going. Me and Aaron texting back and forth. We were really upset. But then you get that big play, and it seemed to be a theme of the night, because at this point, we should be up 14-3. We should be blowing this team out. And then your defense, you get a couple of slow drives on both sides. You get a good interception with Dallas, and then it's another one of those plays where you're driving again. You're putting together this drive in one of those real tough plays. CD's trying to fight for the touchdown, and he just fumbles it out the back of the end zone. And it was one of those things right out the corner where now, you should be up 21-0, or I'm sorry, 21-3. At least with this drive, that would have put you up 14-3. It would have made it much more comfortable. But I think, those were some big plays. And when you're looking at even the Detroit next drive, they drove it down. They get inside the 10-yard line. And this is a drive where Dallas's defense, yes, I think we're going to discuss a little bit later, but Dallas's defense came up big and holding that Detroit team, and a team that has, with Dan Campbell as their coach, is going to go for it. He's got – this dude doesn't care. He plays like every down's his last. He wants a winning mentality. And this dude, if you want to go for it, they showed a stat in the opponent territory. This dude goes for it 53% of the time on the other side of the field. So he's a dude, he's going to risk it. And Dallas's defense shut him down there. So that was huge because they could potentially, go down one. A lot of teams nowadays we see going for fourth down, but it really played out that way the rest of the half. Nobody was really able to get anything going in a game where, I'm sorry, not the half, but the rest of that first quarter. And then the second quarter, they come and switch, swap a couple of touchdowns and field goals. So Dallas goes into the half 17-3. I'm sorry, 17-13 at the end of the half. But it's just one of those games where you felt, man, I'm terrible with that score. That is not. They did go in 7-3 at the half. Why is that wrong? 7-3 at the half. So it was one of those games in the second quarter it picked up, or the third quarter, I'm sorry, after half. Dallas was just able to put together some drives, and they force-fed CD this ball. This is a day where our top receiver right now, I was skeptical to start the season. This kid had 13 catches for 227 yards. So it was just one of those games where you could see that Dak early in the game was going to start force-feeding CD the ball. It felt like they wanted him to get the catch record and the receiving record in that game, in the 17th game, to really break it, because, some people are that extra. But, man, he really killed it. And that's something I do want to look at right now, a little bit of this CD. Because we know early in the season, Aaron and myself talked about it after that San Fran game. CD came out and was very vocal about wanting the ball more. So just to break down some stats, and, after his pretty big performance on his part, the first 5 games of this season were very pedestrian for CeeDee Lamb. right? When you look at the total stats, he averaged 7 targets a game, and he averaged 5 catches for 72 yards a game. He had 27 total catches for 358 yards in the first 5 games. And to me, it's the targets and the catches per game that really shock you, because coming into this season, everybody felt like CD was going to be the guy. And I don't know if it was the change of the offense, if maybe Dak wasn't feeling comfortable with CD for whatever reason, but he just did not perform what we expected, and I think to what even he expected. And that's why he did come out, and he was very vocal. Something we haven't really seen CD come out and like, listen, I want the ball. And he even said, it's not, I don't want it. It wasn't a selfish diva thing. It was, I can help this team win, and since that point, since week 6, he's averaged 12 targets a game, 9 catches for 118 yards for 95 total catches and 1,200, basically 1,300 yards. That feels like at this point, the changing point of the season. And really, I feel like for Dak, it reminding you of that year they got Amari Cooper, because Dak he wasn't putting it together. He hadn't figured it out yet as a quarterback. And they bring in Amari the second half of that season, and Dak just goes bonkers and becomes the quarterback that we're seeing now. It really felt like, man, once he started to really get CD the ball like he's the number one receiver, he took off and this offense has taken off. So it's been such a great thing to watch. And, he now has the most catches in Cowboy history, most yards in a season in Cowboy history. He's first in the league in catches with 122, second in the league in receiving yards, about 50 to 60 right behind, right behind Tyreek Hill. So this week could be big for him. He could end up leading the league in catches and yards. And I think he's 5th in touchdowns as well with 10. And that's only 3 behind Mike Evans. So he's averaging 103 yards a game now, as we wind down this season. And I think that's going to be huge going into the playoffs, because you've seen him be able to move over. And it feels like when CD and Dak are on the same page, this offense is pretty tough to stop, because that opens up things for everyone else. I think the big thing will be, can he hit those other receivers, as we saw this last week. And I feel like there's been a lot of games this season where he's just, he's missed the Cooks down the field. He's missed Gallup, not giving them the opportunity, or throwing the ball out of bounds. So I think the big thing going forward, because and we get, if we can win this week, that's the big thing. We have, Dallas does control their own destiny, and these guys just look much better at home than they do on the road. And you really want to see CD cooking with Dak. So because if CD's moving the ball and he's getting his catches, this team is dangerous. The one thing I didn't like about this week is it's another week of us not being able to run the ball. And seeing Pollard average 3.1 yards a carry, 16 carries for 49 yards, that just isn't going to cut it come playoff time. And I do want to just go on, the 2 texts, through the, not 2 texts, just the 2, but he sent me 2 messages today. Aaron did before we got on the show. La'el Collins is working out in Dallas. And then the other one with Dalvin Cook getting released. Those I think are huge moves. With Dallas, La'el Collins was an all-pro. I believe he was an all-pro with us. I first or second team. He did make a Pro Bowl. He was a very good right tackle for us. So I think adding him back, he's not what he was, but maybe it could be the nice reunion that he needs. And the Dalvin Cook move, I don't know if we should make it. I think, talking with Aaron, I know early in this season, I think he definitely wanted. I think we were both on board and thought maybe Dallas could do it or should do it before the season. If you're getting cut by the Jets and he couldn't put anything, it always seemed like a weird move, because that they did have that Breece Hall kid, but maybe Dalvin Cook, last year he did do pretty well. So do you bring him in at this point, come playoff time, knowing you'll be that number 2 seed, maybe sign him now, give him a few weeks to prepare, because you're going to have the at the number 2 seed, they're going to have a pretty easy schedule. Well, let's not assume they win it because I always thought the Eagles were. But if they get that too, it's huge, and they need that. And if you bring them in and they're on the road, it helps that run game on the road. Running travel. So that's Dallas needs to figure that out before playoff time. I think it's going to be tough to really insert anyone, but I think they do need to try to lessen the load, at least rushing on Pollard, because he just doesn't seem to have the explosion that he's had in years past when he has been that backup to Zeke. So, maybe you could bring in Dalvin and try to work him early in the game and then move Pollard late. But I think we have the guys here to do it too. I think there's a couple guys in that backfield I think have deserved some opportunity. Rico's definitely deserved a shot. Maybe give Deuce a little bit and just move Pollard late. Maybe trying to get him into that old role that he was will help him, because I think he's going to be key for playoffs as well. It can't just be CD all the time, because now, come playoff time, teams are really going to be focusing in on CD, and he's going to be that guy. Whether teams want to say he's a number one or not, this dude is a true baller, and he's really shown it this year. I can't be more happy, because I was someone who, before the season, I did come in, I wasn't high on Dak, and I really, there's other receivers I would have taken over CD, but both of those guys have really, really shined this season and really taken that next step. But I think going into the playoffs coming this week, I think it's something we saw last week. We saw it again this week. So I do think it's worth a little bit of discussion. The defensive worries we have. Yes, this is a defense that's still in the top 5 of, statistically for total defense. So you're not super worried, but you watch these last 2 weeks, man. Buffalo or Miami. Yes, Miami is a very good team. So Miami's good, and to an extent Detroit is they won their division. They're an 11-win team. They're a good team. But your worry is these last 2 weeks you really saw Dallas's defense have an opportunity to put both of the games away. Dak did what he needed to do in both weeks. Yes, they lost to Miami, but you can't really put that loss, say it's Dak's fault, to me at least. And I know there's always missed opportunities. But at the end of the game, Dak drove them down, got them a field goal to put them up 1. And then the next drive, your defense goes 12 plays, 64 yards, and gives up a field goal. This week, and this was, I was so worried. So I'm sitting there watching this game, and I think a lot of us knew. And if you watch football, if you've seen Detroit, you're worried because if Dan Campbell scores, he's going for 2. And it's a blessing and a curse. But Dallas, again, Dak, they had him in position to win. They went down, they kick a field goal to go up 20-13. They have under 2 minutes left. You have under 2, all you got to do in Detroit. I'm pretty sure they had no timeouts either. So you have them on the 25 with no timeouts. And for the second week in a row, the defense at the end of the game did not shut it down. And that worries me, because come playoff time, they're all close games. You're not getting, I want to say Arizona, but Arizona beat Dallas, or they beat us and Philly. You're not getting the Carolinas. Okay, you're not getting those really bad teams. You're not getting teams that shouldn't win. You're getting very good teams, especially when you get to the San Frans. Yes, the Eagles are fading, but they're a very good team. And if you're lucky enough to make it to a Super Bowl against the Buffalo, who blew us out, against the Miami, who just showed they can drive on this defense at the end of the game, it worries you a little bit. I think DQ needs to figure something out. I don't know if these boys are gassed at the end of the game just from, going all game, but the offense is as well. So they got to find a way to make these stops because with the defensive pass rush that has Micah Parsons and Tank Lawrence on it, you got to be able to sack the quarterback. You got to be able to get to that last drive. And it just felt like they were able to just hit some. There was a lot of wide open guys. A lot of their plays were chunk plays, and that's the only way you can score there. Dallas went to this prevent defense, which, especially with no timeouts, I get you don't want to give up the quick touchdown or the bomb, but understand your defense has really been shutting those boys down the whole game. So now you're giving Jared Goff, who has been to a Super Bowl, who may not be the best quarterback, but he is a very competent and capable quarterback. He torched that defense down the field. And, let's be honest, as Cowboys fans, we lost that game. We can also be, I know we came away with a victory, a dub, and it shows it on the score sheet. I think the referees got it wrong. I do. It seemed like the dudes go over and talk to the referee. Jared Goff pushed him out of the huddle. When you watch everything, it's kind of hard to believe that the kid didn't report. And even if he didn't, he still scored. He scored. So it feels like a loss. So that's my big worry going in, into the playoffs. I think we need to handle business this week. I think the defense needs to come up big and really just shut down Washington. I think that's big for your confidence going in. I get it's only Washington, but you got to do something, because this weekend locks up the division and locks up that 2 seed if you win. So I think we really need to be going out this weekend, clicking on all cylinders. So I want to see a shutdown performance from the defense. I think they need to stand up and do something, because they can't be happy with themselves. And yes, I get right before half, they did shut that, they did stop them right before half, but you want to stop them at the end of the game. And both of these weeks, Dallas has not done that. They haven't been able to really, when it mattered most, they haven't been able to stop the two teams. And you don't want to see that, this late in the season. You'd like to see a nice defensive stand, especially when you got Bland, when you got Gilmore, when you got Parsons, when you got Tank. You want to see those guys. So I think that's my biggest worry, my biggest takeaway from this weekend is, where this defense is kind of trending at the end of games, because they had the opportunity the last 2 weeks to make plays and step up and show why you're a top 10 defense, show why you're a Super Bowl capable defense. But these last 2 weeks really make me a little bit nervous, because we're not going to be blowing everybody out come playoff times. And if we are, it's shocking. But again, I want to thank you all. I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to send a huge shout out to Aaron James and for holding it down the last 2 weeks. And I hope you have a safe trip back, brother. I can't wait to talk about Washington this week on Thursday with you. I know we'll have a lot to dive into, because it is such a huge and important game, and one of the biggest games we've played in a while. It's definitely bigger than playoff games at this point, because what it means for Dallas for the future. For this next come playoff time, having home field's going to be huge. So I cannot wait to discuss that with you on Thursday. And I want to thank you all for listening today, everybody that stopped in and checked in. Appreciate every one of you, all of you that are listening on Spotify or however else you get your podcasting in. Appreciate you all as well. You can all go give us a like and a follow on all of our social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Cowboys Takeover Podcast. And then you can also go over, subscribe, on the YouTube page. And I have been told, Aaron did tell me, we do have a TikTok as well. So I'm assuming that is the Cowboys Takeover podcast as well. Go give us a like and a follow on each and every one of those platforms. Just drop a comment, drop a like, something you guys want to discuss. Even discussing the game, we love to hear. We love and enjoy chatting with all of you. We just really appreciate each and every one of you for listening each week. But again, for myself, I know I appreciate you guys. I know Mr. Aaron James does as well. So we just can't thank you each enough. So for another week, you'll see us Thursday, probably around 6 again. Typically it's 6 or 7, but we'll definitely be here Thursday. So come check us out Thursday to talk about the final game of the season. A game that has huge playoff implications for this team. and could really be the difference between Dallas having that easy road to the NFC Championship game or really having to go on the road. So what we've seen this season, Dallas hasn't lost at home yet, so home cook can be the way to go. So we'll discuss all that on Thursday, same time, same channel. We appreciate you all. Thank you so much, and have a great new year. Hopefully all of your resolutions come true. God bless. Enjoy.